Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Barrens Chat Podcast. I'm Sod, and with me tonight is my co-host, Guck. This is a podcast about World of Warcraft by two guys who play. Guck, we're recording a day later than we normally would because of technical difficulties mid-record yesterday, and it's a good thing that we waited a day because a lot of things came out yesterday on top of obviously the AQ race, which is going to start at some point in the near future for North America anyway, and Europe. We have the Glywix ban, the Blizzard employee pay, which seems incredibly low, and Blizzard's getting a lot of heat for that. And overall, just some interesting things, like interesting allegations and tweets coming out from World First racers, and just a lot of like strange things happen in the last 24 hours. What do you think about that? Let's start with the Glywix.
Yeah, Glywix, I find the real money trading problems in Glywix to be interesting just because of how powerful I perceive the token to be. I feel like when Blizzard implement the WoW Gold token system, that most of the real money trading would be fixed, because now, instead of gold traders competing with each other, now they have to compete with the company that literally runs the game, prints the gold, determines what drops what amount of gold, how valuable items are. It just seems like a impossible problem to have to contend with Blizzard as a competitor, as opposed to these other people who are, essentially just other players. But now that Glywix has been kind of effectively struck down, the Discord server is gone. The server itself, I think, is seeing issues. Like, is the server itself down? Will it stay down? Who knows? But there are a lot of EU-LA bans coming out in regards to real money trading that was happening on Glywix. I have never bought gold from a real money trader. I think it's safe to say that you haven't done it, and let's just say that we've never done it because it's against TOS and EULA. But how do you think the people on Glywix can even farm enough content to compete with Blizzard in the money for gold atmosphere?
It's weird, right? Because everything that you sell as like a boost in this game right now has a dollar value on it, because WoW Gold has a dollar value on it, right? I mean, the token is, I think right now it's like 110 and change for a WoW token, 110,000. So let's just say you're selling a Mythic Plus 15 run. I mean, that has a $25 value on it, right? If somebody wants to buy a run using cash, they give Blizzard $25, they get the gold, they pay for the run, right? I mean, there's a dollar value on that. So there's a dollar value on every single item in this game based on Blizzard and the price that they've set up for the token. It obviously fluctuates as people, like more people are buying or less people are buying and more people are selling and so on. But, I mean, Scripe straight up said in his like he tweeted out today, yes, instead of paying for WoW tokens, I just paid them back in euro, right? I think that's the currency that they use.
Yeah. He said that he effectively, instead of buying gold from Blizzard, he bought it from Glywix. And yeah, what I think is weird about that is like the act of buying gold seems weird, but what you said makes sense, where it's like, okay, I could spend $25 through Blizzard to get the gold. Maybe there are boosting groups through Glywix that are like, okay, sure, you could pay Blizzard $25, or you can pay us $15.99 through PayPal, and we'll run you through it, and you don't have to deal with gold. I would imagine that is a lot more easy for people to manage because of the fact that, like, okay, now we're skipping a step by just moving the gold, or moving your money instead of into gold. You're just giving me money through PayPal. But it seemed like it was a problem of people actually buying gold.
Yeah, so that's another thing I was going to get to. I would say it's probably more so on the high end of like the PvE scene and the PvP scene as well, like for people that buy Gladiator and stuff like that. Like, I don't think anybody is like, because I was an advertiser in Glywix. I actually never advertised anything, but like I could see their Discord and stuff like that. I don't think anybody like on the lower end of the totem pole was selling for real money. I think it was like probably upper management and probably like the high end raid guilds. Not even all of them. Like I don't know, but this ban comes out like there's estimates of like 6 billion gold being banned right now from the game, which is an incredible amount of gold to be taken out of the economy. And wow, I mean, like, how does that affect the economy? I've been asking people how it affects prices. It looks like nothing has changed so far. There's still other boosting communities out there. I'm sure that with the allegations and now the ban out there, like, they're probably going to be keeping a bigger eye on them, which I think is good. I'm not even a huge fan of the WoW token. I do like it because I can play WoW for free if I want to, and like it's also an argument I can make to my friends when they're thinking about getting into the game. But I'm not a huge fan of it. I get why it's there right now. It's obviously probably pretty good income for Blizz, but I mean it is nuts. Like the amount of gold that Method borrowed in the race to world first, and I'm sure Limit probably borrowed some gold as well. Like a lot of their players are involved in boosting, so I'm sure it doesn't take them long to pay it back. But like the gold that they spend on that race just to have a tiny higher percent damage or healing output, to have a shot at winning that race is insane.
Yeah, it is nuts. And I will say, more information will come out. I think this is a very recent thing, so we will be seeing what the implications of this are later on. I think largely because, like you said, these are the higher tier. These are the big fish that have a bigger stake of this 6 billion gold. I would expect a lot of that to have just been raw gold set aside to wait until Shadowlands, where they would probably be looking to make big money moves, where it's like, okay, we're going to buy all the cards and then resell all the cards so that we control all the decks on the server, whatever it is. A new expansion, especially at the start of a new raid tier, is a ladder for success. You can make a ton of money taking advantage of, the meta of how things are being bought and sold at the beginning. BOEs, trinkets, things like that sell for a lot at the start of a raid tier, especially the first one at the beginning of an expansion. Speaking of gold, and hoarding gold and keeping your WoW gold, I think this segues into the next small tidbit that we got this week about Blizzard not paying their employees a salary that they really should deserve.
Yeah, and it's crazy because there's like a whole massive spreadsheet out on you can find it on Wowhead right now. It's from like the Bloomberg report. I'm actually shocked at some of these job titles and the salaries, and I like, not to say that like $60,000 a year isn't like a significant amount of money, but then you factor in where they live in Southern California and the cost of living, how outrageous it is. I'm quite frankly blown away as like somebody who I don't have a college degree. I'm not college educated. I work a blue collar job and I make a lot more money than most of these Blizzard employees that have an incredible set of skills that I certainly do not have. And like even some of them that are in like management positions, it just blows my mind. And they live in a significantly higher cost area than I do. Like, what do you think about that?
I would say, and I don't want to go off too far in a tangent here, that don't get tricked by the old 90s, early 2000s myth that it's like you go to college and you get a bachelor's and now suddenly you're making more money. These people have bachelors in very technical, very skilled, fields: computer science, programming, design, marketing. Things that are, legitimate and tangible skill sets that they gained from college. So yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go too far off on a tangent. They deserve it because of their skill set, and they should be paid a lot more. Not only based on their skill set, and not only based on the quality of product that they turn out, but sort of based on just how successful Blizzard as a company is. They can afford to pay more to their employees and that will in turn create a better product, and that better product means more revenue. It just seems counterintuitive for a company, especially one with as much of a budget, as big of an influence as Activision Blizzard, to short end their employees and like just, I don't know, try to bank it for the shareholders, whatever it is they're trying to do with it. It doesn't seem to make obvious sense to me. I'm sure that they've got some reason for why they're doing it, but as far as like a company, it doesn't make sense for them to shortchange their product when their product is everything. And also not just the product, but their perception of the product. And like you've said, now that there's kind of this spreadsheet out there on Wowhead, people can perceive Blizzard to be this kind of miserly corporation that doesn't want to pay its employees. So there's a lot of like just confusing tactics that don't make sense to me about this.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, they're a business, and like businesses are cutthroat, right? They're always after the bottom line. I guess I don't judge too harshly off of that, but it is you're right. I mean, a lot of these people have very technical skills that they probably paid a significant amount of money for at college, and even the ones that didn't go to college, like it just blows my mind just how low some of these numbers are, and I don't even know like how they can afford to live in Southern California. I know not all the jobs are there. Some of them are in Austin. There's some European there, but it's still like, I mean, not to get too much into this, because I think like, we've definitely given it our voice. It's actually kind of sad when you see that. And I think this spreadsheet is good, and it's probably something that you'll see from more corporations, is people sharing how much they make. Just to translate that and like to transfer that into real world, I would expect to see this more often with other corporations outside of game development.
Yeah, I agree. All right, enough of that. Let's get into some WoW stuff, or strictly WoW stuff, in-game WoW stuff, not just this meta WoW stuff. AQ. This is the week for AQ, right? So last week we got the Phase 5 launch, and there wasn't that much stuff there, but there was enough to get people really engaged in Classic once more. You want to go out there, get your nature resist, get the turn-in stuff for your server's war effort. There are a lot of servers that did not complete their war effort in the first week. Whitemane and Herod included, right? So these massive servers didn't get it done in time. The ones that did get it done in time, I've got a list here. We've got on US Sulfuris, Scarum, Incendius, Netherwind, and Earth Fury. So, not a ton of massive servers, but still, I think 5 servers all ready to go with their war effort in the first week. That's impressive. Now they had to go through the mandated Blizzard wait, the emissary transport, which is like a 5-day, 120-hour-long process. But the gong ringing is going to be soon. So the gong ringing is effectively kind of like the start of it. Whoever gets to ring the gong becomes the first official Scarab Lord, and then that starts this 10-hour war. And during the 10-hour war, the other players who qualified for Scarab Lord will have an opportunity to bang the gong. But after that, we are going to see the true opening of AQ. Something that, like you said, hasn't been done in gaming since. It's going to be something that's incredibly epic. And it's kind of interesting to see based on the reset timers, because, I mean, again, if Apes had their way, they would have done all of AQ's content, all of Phase 5's content in 2 to 3 days, because they got the reputation done in 23 hours, because they used another guild, Salad Bakers, and they were abusing the layers to get all of the fragments that they needed in 23 hours. I would assume that there had to be some form of cross-faction collusion where the Horde on their server also was paid to either not come out or kill Alliance that weren't sanctioned. Whatever it was, I'm sure there's something, because 23 hours given the caps, given the delays that Blizzard put in, that's immense. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what's going on there, but a curious thing, because Blizzard decided to do this about resets, the Chinese servers actually reset early enough that right now, if you check Warcraft logs and if you check Twitch, there are VODs of this, the Chinese servers have already been able to clear AQ20 and AQ40, and there are logs up there, you can watch the VODs. Because of the way that it worked, they got their 10-hour war before us and have gotten through it, and they're already going through AQ. And for us today, we're going to have to wait until sometime around, midnight for my time, sometime late at night tonight. So if you guys are up late tonight, you'll be able to see the first Scarab Lords and AQ runs, but it's upon us.
Yeah, definitely going to be exciting to watch what I guess is probably not going to turn out to be a race, right? I mean, the gates are going to open at a different time for everyone, so I guess it'll be more about the speed of your first clear as opposed to, how soon you kill it, and the Chinese guilds are already well on their way. And I mean, that's great. Like, that's awesome to see. Like, I guess the event is, kind of not as significant as it was 15 years ago. Like, like how I thought it would be. And, it just really didn't seem like that big of a deal within the community over the last week. Like, did you notice anything at all? Like, I mean, I don't know if I'm sure you might have logged on and checked it out, but like, I just didn't notice it on Twitch. I saw it a little bit on Twitter, like with, Tips Out was talking about it. But other than that, there wasn't much buzz around it.
Much buzz, yeah, in AQ. I think a lot of it has to deal with the WoW Classic nostalgia, the WoW Classic kind of aura. It has died off. It has died down quite a bit. And I think right now we're dealing with a majority of servers that are basically just getting by off of the really hardcore players that actually stuck around for the long haul. It's weird because, yeah, I mean, on these big servers, you'll see where you would expect a lot of really dedicated players. Either one faction is sandbagging the turn-in, or they're both kind of doing it kind of slow, at least slower than you'd expect. It's been a pretty weird thing. And I think, yeah, because of the fact that it really depends more on how much your server is active rather than how good of a guild you are, it's not going to get the attention that that even BWL's release got. Because BWL was just straight up, we're going to open it, there's an opportunity for you to get in, and essentially we could have raced it. But right now, you can't really race it unless you're on a server that completed a war effort with another server at the exact same time. Everything is going to be on a slightly different timetable. The 10-hour war is a literal 10-hour period that starts once the gong is rung. So it depends on when the first person rings their gong. It depends on when the war effort is completed, and then that 5-day waiting period. So, I mean, sure, people might take the Blizzard wait time out of it and then calculate, okay, this is how long it took our guild to go from the release of Phase 5 to the war effort turn-ins. We'll ignore that part, and then it's like, okay, so then this is where we got to the reputation part, because that's something we could control, and then this is how long our AQ raid was, and maybe that it will be the time that people compare. But at the end of the day, yeah, this just didn't feel like as big of a gaming moment. But I think on your server, those of you who are playing Classic still, your server will probably feel more alive in regards to, this moment, that actual moment, the text going out that the gong has been rung, the 10-hour war beginning. All of that stuff will probably be a lot more exciting for the people actually playing. But I mean, yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal anymore. I think Classic has really lost its coolness. It's lost the edge to it. And it's back to a point where it's like, WoW Classic is basically the best vanilla private server. and the people who would otherwise be playing vanilla private servers are really enjoying it. The people who were on the fence, some of them may have stayed, a lot of them probably have left. All of the nostalgia people have left. I just think Classic is a different community now.
Yeah, and it's I think you're right about that. I think probably a lot of Classic is probably just raid loggers too, right? I mean, it's not one of those games where you have to just grind emissary and artifact power. It's not like retail where there's weekly chores unless you're going for your world buffs, which that in itself is a more hardcore player thing to do. And with that also just something that I think we want to bring up that's actually really cool is the weekly cache in Shadowlands, at least how it appears on the beta. Really, really exciting stuff coming out of this, right? I mean, you can get a weekly cache from raiding, mythic dungeons, and from PvP. I think they're all pretty reasonable in based on what you do. We'll get into like the nitty gritty here in a minute, but what do you think about that, Guck? I mean, that's really exciting. That's a pretty huge change from how things have worked in the past. I mean, a weekly cache from raiding as well. Also, probably due to the fact that they're reducing the amount of items that drop off of bosses. They're reducing the amount of drops out of mythic dungeons. So gear's going to be harder to come by. So they've said, which I think is a good thing. And I think that this is also, something that probably makes you feel better. You can target your upgrade in the weekly cache as well.
There's a lot of good stuff about the new, what they're calling the Great Vault weekly chest. I think the fact that there are different avenues for you to pursue gear and effectively replacing changing the name replaces the system. It's no longer your Mythic Plus weekly cache. This Great Vault weekly cache is going to draw on whether you're doing raid bosses, whether you're earning conquest through PvP, or, as it was before, whether you're running Mythic Dungeons. What I like about this is it gives you a clear kind of indicator of how many things that you can choose from depending on how much you do. And I would say most people probably do a combination of Mythic Dungeons and either PvP or raid. So now if you do a week's worth of raiding and a week's worth of Mythic Plus, you're going to have 6 things to choose from, and obviously you'll still only get one. You'll get one single reward, but you'll have choice. You'll have player agency. And if it follows the way it's designed, the raid items will probably be from the raid, and the mythic dungeon items will probably be from the specific dungeons that you've been running. So if it does work like that, you can target your weekly chest items, and that is massive. The fact that we're replacing a totally random system with something that has even a layer of choice is a massive, massive improvement.
Yeah, and I think the way that it works is really good too, because if you complete more challenging content, obviously you get a higher reward. So let's just say, for example, the second tier dungeon is to complete 5 mythic dungeons. That'll get you 2 dungeon drops, right? So your first one is just the highest dungeon that you do. Let's say you do a mythic 10, and I think that's max reward, at least in the first season. So you would get a mythic 10 reward out of that cache. Now, if you complete 5 other mythic plus dungeons, let's say you have an 8, a 6, 5, and another 5. Then your second chest from Mythic Plus will be based off the lowest dungeon that you've done in that set, which would be your 5. Now you can get that number up if you continue to do higher dungeons, which I think is good. It rewards you more so for completing harder content. It's not going to hurt you if you just want to do your one mythic high mythic a week and then help your friends in lower keys. It's not going to hurt you because you're still going to get at least to choose from one high item level, and then you'll have a lower item level that you can choose from on your second set, which I think is both good and bad. I think it's fine. I don't think it's going to deter people from helping their friends in a lower key. And I also think it rewards you for doing a lot of content. Like, you have more control over your reward. So The raid bosses, you only need to kill 10 of them. The raid is 10. So if you do a full clear, there's your raid bosses, right? Like, I would assume that most heroic guilds will probably doing their AOTC clears probably every week, like say 6 weeks in, and then you're probably going to get a heroic drop out of your cash. Maybe you kill a couple mythic bosses so you can up that for the raid one as well. I think that's really good. The conquest points, I'm not a huge PvP guy, but just to give myself some more, options of loot that I can pick from, it doesn't seem like an incredible amount of conquest, 250 conquest points for the third reward in the PvP tier. So that seems fine to me, and I think that's reasonable. The third tier in Mythic Dungeons is to complete 15 of them. That seems like a lot, but at the same time, on weeks where I'm really into WoW, I'm probably doing 15 anyway. So to me, it's not a big deal, but to your average player, that's probably a lot of Mythic Dungeons to ask them to do. But you have control over your rewards. How hard you want to work and how high you want to push is going to determine how many high item level choices that you have to make. I think this system is awesome. I see no negative things about this system. I don't have anything bad to say about it. I'm really happy with the way that this looks.
Yeah, I will say the checkmark kind of system is where I see the first problem. And this is a problem only from an objective standpoint. If we're looking at this subjectively, between BFA and Shadowlands, you could do the exact same thing where you just do one maxed key a week and you'll still get the same thing you got in BFA, a random item associated with the max reward item level. So there's no real change. And all of this stuff that they're adding, you can't really say is a negative because the system itself, if you engaged with it on a very minimal way to begin with, it hasn't changed at all. It's still just a random lottery for one item a week. But if you choose to engage in that new system, I do see some objective problems with it. And one you already brought up. It depends on how they populate the item levels as you run content. I think if I run my heroic AOTC run first, and I get all 10 bosses locked in as heroic, and then I go in and I do my first 3 mythic farm, and then we're working on our prog boss, I would like the 3 raid bosses on mythic to take priority somewhere in that list so that I have a guaranteed mythic drop. I don't want to be locked out on heroic eye level. I want this thing to evolve with my content. And more importantly with the mythic dungeons, and this is for exactly what you said, which I actually have a huge problem with, running low-level keys with your friends that don't like to push keys could hurt you if they don't adjust the item level appropriately. Like, let's say you run your big key up front, and then you want to run 5 keys that are lower with some friends who don't push keys, and then you want to run another dozen high keys. When you run... And just to make this easier, this is a convoluted example already. Let's say you run hypothetically 15 high keys and 15 low keys in a week because you're a key monster. It should prioritize the 15 high keys that you did regardless of the order. And it does? Okay, good.
Yeah, it does.
Because that would be a huge issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it does. So then, yeah. So with the raid bosses, it's 3 for the first tier. So if you go 3 out of 10 mythic and then you go 10 out of 10 mythic, you're gonna get, I would assume, 1 mythic drop in your raid for your raid portion of the cache, and the rest will be heroic. It'll prioritize your highest keys. So let's...
Yeah, it does look like I didn't look through all of the screenshots, but if it does go based off of a top this week system, then yeah, it'll be great. Because it'll be like, okay, raid, what were my top 3 bosses, top 7 bosses? And then it'll start with mythic and then heroic. Same thing with mythic. What were my top 15 runs? And it'll just grab it from there. I think, okay, if that is the case, then not only is it objectively the same if you're just a minimalist, it is a far superior system. And then unfortunately, because neither of us do PvP, we can't really talk about the PvP cache, but I can only imagine how much better it is to not have to do content outside of what you want and still get some reward for it. So, I mean, it's a win. It's a huge win.
It's awesome. And like, I don't know how much of the raid testing you've been following, but it looks like Covenant abilities, the utility ones that each Covenant has, are, probably going to be used in different ways for each boss. And as far as like, what the top 1% players, I'm sure it's going to affect them. But I think that at least in a raid environment, as like like a lower tier player that is probably going to try to push cutting edge before the raid tier ends, I don't think that being the wrong covenant will hurt you that bad, as long as you pick the one that gives you an appropriate amount of damage.
Last thing I want to mention on, because I don't think we talked about it during the AQ segment. Definitely also, if you're interested in AQ and classic stuff, stay tuned for the drama that happened these past 2 weeks. There are, tons of videos showing cross-faction collusion, where Horde and Alliance are working together against their own faction, but with certain cross-faction elements. There's a lot of complaining about the mass report system, where certain guilds mass report another guild, and the automated system picks it up and bans them momentarily, or perhaps, a more temporary version that allows the people who did the banning to get further ahead in the Scarab Lord quest line. There's just a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. And tonight, if you guys are interested, tonight is the night to stay tuned, find on Twitch the top guilds that actually completed their war effort. They're probably going to go into AQ tonight, so stay tuned and be on the lookout for that.
I think that's it, dude. You nailed that.
So yeah, any closing elements you want to add?
No, there was obviously a lot to update. Definitely looking forward to what next week brings. It's a huge push week in Mythic Plus. Oh, if you're actually listening this late in the episode, if you still need Blood of the Enemy for your essence on retail, do the comp stomp on your character. That those comp stomp BGs count towards your honor to earn for Blood of the Enemy. Assuming you already have rank 1. If you don't, go get it. It's just a quest. It can be a little tough, but just stick with it, and you can farm all the honor that you need for Blood of the Enemy in that comp stomp. It takes about 10 minutes per BG in there. You get a significant amount per win. So it's definitely a good way to farm it. We meant to get to that earlier, but obviously there was a lot going on during the week. So farm that comp stomp if you still need rank 3 Blood of the Enemy.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening, especially those of you who, like Sod said, listened this deep into the episode. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the downloads, all the ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. All that stuff helps us grow. You can hit us up on Twitter at BarrensChatPod. Check us out on our website with all of our contact info, barrenschat.podbean.com, and we'll see you guys in the next one.